I'm Cody Metter. I'm the Executive Director of the Texas Legislative Progressive Caucus, chaired by State Representative Ana Maria Rodriguez Ramos. I love Progress Texas because it is evidence of the progressive movement being alive and well in the great state of Texas. You have progressive legislators in the state legislature fighting for working families in Texas. And if you want to stay in touch with us, you can go to texaslpc.org and sign up for our newsletter to stay motivated about all of the good fight happening in Austin.
It's Monday, March 10th, 2025, and this is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch, rapid response on the breaking news stories Texas progressives need to know. I'm Chris Mosier. Tomorrow, Tuesday, March 11th, is a big day in the decades-long fight over private school vouchers in Texas. House Bill 3 is set to be heard in the Texas House Public Education Committee on Tuesday, and organized groups on both sides of this debate are expected to descend upon the Capitol in big numbers. This is a great time to look around at the real-world examples we see of the effects of just the kind of rerouting of public money to private schools the Texas Republicans are proposing. The editorial board at the Houston Chronicle reminds us this morning of the example we see in Arizona, where, quote, the cost of Arizona's school voucher program, touted as an opportunity for children with disabilities and disadvantaged families zoned to failing schools, now threatens to bankrupt the state. Funding for what ProPublica has labeled the largest school voucher program in the history of education almost immediately blew a meteor crater-sized hole in the budget. Staring at a $1.4 billion shortfall last year, Arizona lawmakers had to divert $333 million from water infrastructure projects in their desert-dry state to pay for a massive tax cut and vouchers. ProPublica also reported that relatively few low-income families are taking advantage of the vouchers, and reasons varied. Most private schools were in affluent areas. Vouchers might not cover the full price of a private school, with the more prestigious ones ranging between $30,000 and $35,000 annually, and extra and likely unanticipated costs, including uniforms, meals, and transportation. We Texans are headed down the Arizona highway, unquote. Today is the day, especially if your representative in Austin is a Republican, to get on the phone and demand that they not bring the same ruin onto Texas. Watch for a deep dive on all of this a bit later today on this podcast feed with our friends at Every Texan, who have done a massive amount of research on the unintended or perhaps just ignored potential consequences this reckless and out-of-state funded effort risks, and with Austin State Rep Gina Hinojosa, who's been fighting against private school vouchers over her entire time as an elected official at the Capitol. CNN reports that the case count of the measles outbreak that started in West Texas and has now spread firmly into New Mexico has reached 230, almost certainly a massive undercount, 198 of those in Texas. A second death, that of an unvaccinated adult in Lee County, New Mexico, who had fallen ill but not sought treatment and was thus not part of the case count until after they died, leads Dr. Paul Offit, director of the Vaccine Education Center at Philadelphia Children's Hospital, to believe this outbreak is much more widespread than the numbers show. Melody Schreiber at The Guardian says most of Texas's largest cities, where belief in medical science is the strongest, are starting to run short of MMR vaccines as demand increases. This has begun to affect what for most new parents has been a routine aspect of their kids' medical care, as even those doses have become more scarce. Of close to zero help here is Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Donald Trump's chosen head of the Federal Department of Health and Human Services, despite having no medical background, perhaps properly classified as a DEI hire, but I digress. Kennedy downplayed the risks of measles infections in a recent Fox News op-ed and pushed cod liver oil and vitamin A, neither of which prevent those infections. Dr. Peter Hotez, dean of the National School of Tropical Medicine at Baylor College of Medicine, who does have a medical background, notes that it's unusual for any U.S. health secretary to publicly address outbreaks in this way, especially one with little idea what the hell he's talking about. Hotez says of RFK, quote, the fact that he decided to insert himself in that role is interesting, but then to spread disinformation, that really is outrageous, unquote. Pooja Salhotra at the Texas Tribune says rural Texans are also scrambling to respond as their outdated and crumbling medical infrastructure is frequently simply not up to the task. Many rural medical facilities are seeing the same issues they did during the COVID-19 pandemic. The lesson there is that apparently no lessons were learned. Of our 254 counties in Texas, 64 have no hospital and 25 lack even primary care physicians. 26 rural Texas hospitals have closed over the last 15 years, and many of those still standing are often in dilapidated buildings with few medical providers even to staff them. The Associated Press and the Trib have produced a short video that shows the scene on the ground in Gaines and Lubbock counties and the surrounding area, including short interviews with local doctors, upon whose faces you can see the strain and worry, and with local religious leaders who continue to ignore and deny science. About a 4-minute watch that's worth your time. See the link in the show notes. Closing today on an interesting take for those of you who are trying to figure out what in the hell is going on inside Elon Musk's head. Noor Al-Sabai at Futurism.com writes that research into the effects of the sustained use of ketamine, which Musk has admitted to for the treatment of depression and possibly for recreational purposes as well, shows that many such users develop dissociation, delusional thinking, and a tendency to believe that they're mentally receiving secret messages. Al-Sabai cites that terrific 2023 expose for The New Yorker in which journalist Ronan Farrow reported that people close to Musk had begun to worry about his alleged ketamine habit, which those unnamed sources claimed had accelerated around the time he bought Twitter. If you've never read it, that Farrow report on Elon Musk is a doozy and is linked in this Futurism.com report, which itself is linked in this morning's show notes. March is Women's History Month, and as Progress Texas Advocacy Associate Tatum Owens points out, while we honor the many women who have broken ground in Texas, we also lament the fact that we remain the worst state for them, as our abortion bans threaten forced pregnancies and have caused a rise in miscarriage-related sepsis cases and unnecessary deaths, all still either without proper scrutiny or under wraps by our Republican-controlled state government. That fight continues as well. Tatum has compiled a great list of Women's History Month events happening across the state where you can get directly involved. See that link at ProgressTexas.org. Our mission at Progress Texas is to counter the conservative disinformation machine, but they far outmatch us in funding. Oil and tech billionaires and religious right-wing activist groups spend a lot of money keeping their audiences in the dark. If you've come to appreciate the light we shine on important political news in Texas on a daily, ongoing basis, please know that our regular, everyday listeners form a key component of our funding. If that's you, we could use your support as a monthly contributor, and no amount is too small. Go to ProgressTexas.org/donate. Thanks to Susan Lofton, Lisa Weiss, and Lauren Pasick, all of whom have joined the team lately. We appreciate all of you. San Antonio, folks, Progress Texas is Alamo City bound for the first time in a while for a live podcast taping and fundraising party on Tuesday, May the 6th. We look forward to a long overdue and fun get-together with all of y'all down in Old San Antonio. Mark that date, Tuesday, May 6th, and keep it here for more details. Hit our website, ProgressTexas.org, to grab the merch to match your progressive values. Y'all means all revolution, and our most popular Humans Against Ted Cruz t-shirts are all there, all union printed right here in Texas, all at ProgressTexas.org. That's the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch for this Monday, March 10th, 2025. Links to all these original stories can be found in our show notes. Progress Texas is a nonprofit rapid response media organization promoting progressive messages and actions. While campaigns come and go, we're the permanent home for progressive media and action in the Lone Star State. I'm Chris Mosier. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day and a great week. We'll see you again tomorrow morning.